Just what does it mean to come back here and be able to play or just as an opponent tonight?
Yeah, AZ was good to me, but I'm way happier where I'm at now. It was good to see people. It was fun to play in front of some fans, but for me, I'm way happier in Indy.
The Indiana Fever's road trip just ended in complete disaster with a 95-60 blowout loss to Phoenix. 2 more devastating injuries and Dawa Bonner talking trash in the post-game press conference. But Sophie Cunningham had the last word in this video. We're breaking down exactly what went wrong in Phoenix, Sophie's valiant effort to will the team to win, and most importantly, Sophie's explosive podcast comments where she finally revealed the truth about how Dawa Bonner really quit on the Fever. You won't believe what she said about professional courtesy in saying goodbye. If you support Sophie, then comment spicy Sophie, let's go.
That had to have been one of, if not the most embarrassing loss of the season for the Indiana Fever so far. We lost to the Atlanta Dream earlier in the season, 77-58. We lost to the Valkyrie earlier in the season, 80-61. And tonight, against the Phoenix Mercury, we lose 95-60.
You knew something was wrong when the Fever couldn't hit water. If they fell out of a boat in the first quarter, the shots weren't falling, passes were getting picked off, and Phoenix was already pulling away before most fans had finished their popcorn. This wasn't just a slow start. This was a complete offensive collapse happening in real time. The numbers tell the brutal story that every Fever fan wishes they could forget. Indiana shot a pathetic 34.3% from the field while going an absolutely dreadful 7 of 30 from three-point range. 22 turnovers handed Phoenix 42 points on a silver platter. When you're giving the other team more points off turnovers than you're scoring from beyond the arc, you're in serious trouble. Does this team
practice? What I saw tonight looked like what I saw a month ago. Looked what I saw 3 weeks ago. Absolutely no offensive game plan. I thought this motion offense is when it's nobody's night in and night out. Everybody's allowed to have a night. If Kelsey Mitchell doesn't play well, it needs miraculous efforts from the rest of the team to pick this up. Sophie Cunningham played great tonight. Kelsey Mitchell had a bad game. Bad game. Where's everybody else?
But the real gut punch came when Sydney Colson went down with a non-contact knee injury that had everyone holding their breath. Then Aari McDonald started limping around with foot problems, and suddenly the Fever's already thin rotation got even thinner. Watching 2 key players get hurt in a blowout loss felt like getting punched while you're already down.
Steph, obviously, Sid had that injury, and Aari left, I think, in the fourth quarter.
Yep.
Just what's the status of
Well, it's Sid's left knee, Aari's right foot, and we'll get some more evaluation when we get home tomorrow and see where we are.
Phoenix controlled every single aspect of this basketball game. They outerbounded Indiana 44-32 and made the Fever look completely lost on both ends of the court. Every possession felt like the Mercury were playing chess while Indiana was still figuring out checkers. The defensive pressure from Phoenix created chaos that the Fever never recovered from.
Sophie Cunningham making her return to Phoenix, and it seems as if nobody on our team other than Sophie Cunningham felt any type of emotional connection to this game. Dawa Bonner just got done doing your team absolutely dirty. You guys escape with a victory when they come to Indiana, and you wipe your hands of it like it's all over and finished with. No, it goes both ways. You don't think we want to beat her on her home court? You don't think we want to get a W for Sophie Cunningham, making her return to the team that she spent her whole entire career with up until this point?
Sophie Cunningham was literally the only Fever player who showed up ready to compete. She dropped 18 points on efficient shooting while watching her teammates struggle to find any kind of offensive rhythm. Sophie was fighting tooth and nail to keep this game from becoming even more embarrassing. But she couldn't do it alone against an entire team.
Sabally, tough shot, wasn't square, and here comes Indiana. Cunningham, another 3. Oh my goodness, Sophie Cunningham!
This game meant just as much to Sophie Cunningham as it did to the Indiana Fever when DeWanna Bonner made her return. The only difference is nobody on the Indiana Fever had Sophie Cunningham's back this time around. Sophie Cunningham was the only player trying hard, the only player giving effort, play in and play out, the only player getting into it with Alyssa Thomas, getting into it with DeWanna Bonner, getting into it with Kalia Copper, while everybody else just mailed it in. This game was embarrassing, folks.
The atmosphere inside the arena felt depressing for anyone wearing Fever colors. You could see the frustration on faces in the crowd as their team fell further and further behind. What made this loss even more painful was watching the Mercury celebrate every made shot and defensive stop like they were winning Game 7 of the finals. This wasn't just a bad shooting night where the Fever got unlucky with some rim outs. This was a complete system breakdown that exposed exactly how fragile Indiana's depth really is when injuries start piling up. The real drama was just getting started in the post-game press conferences. DeWanna Bonner couldn't help herself after embarrassing her former team, and her post-game comments showed exactly why the Fever are better off without her. She dropped 23 points and made sure everyone in that arena knew about it. Talking about finding her edge and how emotionally charged this return felt like she'd just conquered Mount Everest.
You see that? DeWanna Bonner hit her first three-point shot in about 6 months and runs down the floor after losing her starting spot to Lexi Hull. Runs down the floor and calls Lexi Hull a bomb to her face. DeWanna Bonner is out here calling Lexi Hull a bomb to her face.
But here's what really happened. During those 40 minutes of basketball, Bonner got into multiple confrontations with Lexi, who's staring her down. After made baskets and getting chippy with Sophie Cunningham, whenever they shared the court, she wasn't just playing basketball, she was putting on a show designed to embarrass her former teammates.
Oh, it was, yeah, I don't know, emotions are kind of high. Honestly, it's just been a journey to get back to just being happy playing basketball again. Yeah, I'm just, the joy, trying to find that. For a minute, basketball was kind of like off the radar for me a little bit. I didn't know if I loved it anymore. Like, I had a long conversation with Alyssa, so just to feel that again, feel that energy, feel this from that building was just amazing. And I feel like it was a game that I needed to, remind me, like, I love this.
Coach Nate Titz couldn't stop praising Bonner's fire in his post-game interview. He talked about how her veteran experience had reawakened her competitive spirit specifically for this matchup against Indiana. The way he described it, you'd think Bonner had been saving up months of energy just for this one game. Phoenix treated this entire contest like it was personal business instead of professional basketball. Bonner was right in the middle of all the trash talk and theatrical celebrations. Every made shot came with extra staring. Every defensive stop turned into a moment for more join with the Fever bench.
Look at Bonner. And Cunningham's kind of got that innocent who me grin going, and nobody's buying it.
Wow, what a steal by Bonner, stepping right into it. And Sophie knows that doesn't want to create anything more. A little holding on. You think this is becoming a rivalry?
Oh, they're letting her have it now. They gave Cunningham a big ovation.
You could see the massive difference in how both teams handled themselves. After the final buzzer, Phoenix was celebrating and taking verbal shots at their opponents. While Indiana focused on staying together as a group, the Fever players were checking on their injured teammates and talking about bouncing back from adversity.
For sure. I mean, it sucks, right? You don't ever want to see anyone be injured on any team. I feel like there's been a lot of injuries this year in the W, harsh ones, I think. And, it's just another one. And Sid is still the heartbeat of our team. She's going to be okay. Our team's going to be okay. And again, it's just another hurdle that we're going to have to.
Bonner's performance felt less like legitimate basketball excellence and more like someone desperately trying to prove a point to people who had already moved on with their lives. She was putting extra mustard on every celebration while the Fever were worried about Sydney Colson's knee injury. The contrast was absolutely stark when you watched both locker room interviews. The Fever talked about unity and resilience through tough times while Bonner and the Mercury were basically doing victory dances over beating an underman squad, missing key players. Bonner's 23 points. Couldn't hide the fact that her post-game attitude reminded everyone exactly why she never fit with Indiana's team-first culture. But Sophie Cunningham was about to drop some truth bombs that would put this entire situation in perfect perspective.
Did you see that when DB came back and played for us, that they got mad that our fan base was booing her?
I don't believe in booing former players unless they left on like some F you type shit.
Sophie Cunningham went on her podcast and finally told the truth about how DeWanna Bonner really quit on the Fever, and it's worse than anyone imagined. Sophie started by acknowledging that Bonner is a Hall of Fame caliber player who was genuinely unhappy during her time in Indiana. But then she dropped the bombshell that changed everything about how we should view Bonner's departure.
I like DB because like DB was one of my vets when I was in Phoenix, and then we gathered here into Indiana, and like it was kind of a surprise that she was signed to Indiana anyway, and so we'll take her in a heartbeat. Like she's a Hall of Famer, she's a hell of a basketball player, can score from anywhere on the court.
According to Sophie, Bonner never even sent a simple text message to her teammates when she decided to leave the team. Mid-season. Think about that for a second. You spend months practicing together, traveling together, and building relationships with your teammates, and then you just disappear without saying goodbye.
But she got to Indiana and she just like really wasn't happy. And like I want people to be happy. So that's why I'm kind of like neutral on this one, which a lot of people are surprised about. She's towards the end of her career, so like she deserves her flowers. She deserves to be happy. But I also think that if you're gonna leave, like you're gonna have to expect getting bit. Like,
was there explanation when it happened? No. Not even privately? Yeah, I mean, okay. That's tough. And yeah, okay. Well, I did say what? Unless you leave on some fuck you type shit, and that's what that is, so.
Yeah.
Sophie made it clear that this wasn't about basketball disagreements or strategic differences. Sophie explained during her podcast that sending a basic goodbye message would have prevented all the awkwardness and drama that followed Bonner's departure from Indianapolis. Instead of professional courtesy, the team got radio silence from someone they thought was a veteran leader. The podcast revelation painted a picture of someone who just vanished without showing any respect for the relationships she'd supposedly built.
Like I'm still rooting for her. Like I want her to end her career and be happy, but I also think that like it's okay to be professional about it and like send a text to your teammates. Send a text and be like, hey, like love you guys, or you don't even have to say love you guys, just like, hey, sorry this didn't work out, good luck, da-da-da-da. You know what I mean? Like there's a way to handle that, I think.
Sophie's comments about accountability and leadership hit completely different because she's been carrying this team's emotional load while Bonner was busy making excuses elsewhere. You can actually hear the frustration in Sophie's voice when she talks about what professional courtesy should look like in these situations. She wasn't being mean or petty. She was explaining basic respect between teammates.
I doubt DeWanna Bonner had any idea that how dirty she did her teammates on her way out of Indiana would ever come out to light. But Sophie Cunningham said, hold my beer. I got a podcast. I got this platform. I'm going to speak my mind. I'm not going to toe the company line. I'm not going to protect narratives. I'm not going to follow agendas. I'm going to tell you how it all went down. And DeWanna Bonner disappeared like a ghost.
This revelation completely reframed Bonner's Phoenix performance from some kind of redemption story into what it really was: a petty revenge game against teammates. She couldn't even be bothered to text goodbye. Sophie's honesty exposed the real character difference between someone who fights through adversity with her team versus someone who disappears when things get difficult. While DeWanna Bonner was celebrating her revenge game, the real story was how Sophie Cunningham, Lexi Hull, and the Fever's core players showed what loyalty actually looks like. Sophie's 18-point performance in a blowout loss demonstrated the kind of heart and determination that separates championship teams from everyone else. She could have mailed it in when the game got out of hand, but instead she kept fighting until the final buzzer, reaming out.
Rimming out. Cunningham picks up the board. Here she comes. Sophie steps into the three.
Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Is loving being in Indianapolis. She loves this team. She's feeling it on these.
Cunningham hesitates. Ball on the deck. Sweet dish inside for Tim.
The injuries to Sydney Colson and Ari McDonald could have been the perfect excuse for this team to completely fall apart and start pointing fingers. Instead, you watch them rally around each other during timeouts and check on their hurt teammates instead of sulking about the score. That's the difference between players who care about each other versus players who only care about their own stats. Lexi Hull, standing up to Bonner's stare down, showed exactly what kind of backbone this young Fever core possesses when facing adversity. She didn't back down from a veteran player trying to intimidate her in her own building. Hall matched Bonner's energy and showed that this team won't be pushed around by anyone no matter how many years they've been in the league. The contrast between Bonner's individual celebration and the Fever's team-first mentality and defeat revealed everything you need to know about organizational culture. One side was focused on personal revenge, while the other was worried about injured teammates and staying together through tough times. That difference matters more than any single game result.
Phoenix doing a nice job on the boards. We talked about that, leading by 10.
Wow.
7-17.
You look at all the stats that you love as Cunningham buries,
Staying hot.
buries another triple.
It's a tough call, and here's going to see the shot by the three-pointer against Copper.
Sabley, top shot. Wasn't square, and here comes Indiana. Cunningham, another three. Oh my goodness, Sophie Cunningham!
The fan base has completely embraced these current players because they represent something Bonner never did during her time in India. These players showed genuine commitment to the Fever's future instead of looking for the exit door. When things get difficult, they're building something sustainable. Instead of just trying to prove individual points, even without Caitlin Clark on the court, this core group has maintained the identity and values that make the Fevers special to their supporters. They play with passion, they support each other, and they represent the city with pride every single night. The Phoenix loss hurt, but it also proved that the Fever's real foundation isn't built on players who quit. When things get tough, with Caitlin Clark's return on the horizon, this adversity is about to become the fuel for something much bigger. The Phoenix disaster exposed the Fever's vulnerabilities, but it also revealed the character of their true leaders. With Caitlin Clark returning soon, this adversity is setting up perfectly for a 2025 championship run that nobody saw coming. Sophie Cunningham's honesty about Bonner's unprofessional exit just proved that sometimes the best thing that can happen to a team is losing the wrong players. The Fever's loyal core has been tested by injuries, losses, and drama, but they're still standing together while their former teammate celebrates beating an undermanned squad. That difference in character is going to matter when it counts most. If you support Sophie, then comment spicy Sophie, like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss out. Click the video on the screen, and we will see you in the next one.